What's up, guys? This is Ryan from HorrorHive here at HorrorHound Weekend, and I'm here with
Kevin Roach, Freddy Krueger.
Nathan Thomas Milliner.
And last time we interviewed Nathan here, we talked about his work with Scream Factory, but this time around we're going to be talking about his work as a filmmaker. He has two films playing here at HorrorHound Weekend. One of them is...
The Confession of Fred Krueger.
That's right. And the other film that you worked on, you have a segment in called?
The Encyclopedia Satanica from Volumes of Blood.
That's right. So let's talk about Confession of Fred Krueger first. Where did the idea for that come from?
1988, I became a Nightmare on Elm Street fan, and I got a book called The Companion, the Nightmare on Elm Street Companion, and in there was an origin story called The Life and Death of Freddy Krueger by Jeffrey Cooper. And it told the whole backstory. And I was just intrigued by it, and I was like, man, I hope they make a movie of this. And I know Robert and I think John McNaughton was making a prequel at one time, had written a script, and it never happened. From what I understand, little Nicky kind of nipped it in the bud when it came out because it was set in hell, which that doesn't sound very interesting to me, actually. But I always wanted to see Robert, actually get to do more than just show up and scare people, but actually play a human being as Freddy, and a vulnerable or just to see him show off what a great actor he can be if he's not held back to just being, the boogeyman who's there to scare people, but just to have a whole scene of him doing interrogation was really something I wanted to see for a long time. And I thought about stuff like interviews I'd seen with Manson or Dahmer or Bundy, but especially the Richard Kuklinski documentaries, Iceman Confessions. Just hearing this guy who just murdered these people without remorse for years, has a total sociopath, telling his story, and somehow he's charming, and you want to hear more. And I thought, I'd love to see Freddy in that scenario. So I wrote it a couple of years ago, and not really thinking I would ever actually make one, just kind of for fun. And I kept people seemed to be interested in it, and then I worked on Encyclopedia Satanica, working with a great team and an actor, Kevin Roach here, who I said, if I don't have this guy play Freddy, I'm making a big mistake. And I was right. He's phenomenal, and every piece of the puzzle fit on this film, from the composer to the sound people to the makeup. Everybody brought their A game and brought love and helped me make the thing a reality. And I'm forever grateful to all of them for it.
Excellent. Let's talk to Mr. Freddy Krueger himself here.
Wait, which one?
I don't know. Which one should we talk to? Let's talk to the non-burnt one first. So how did you get involved with the film?
I mean, Nathan and I worked together on Volumes of Blood, and after that, during the moments where we weren't filming, we talked about it. And he was like, how do you feel about Freddy Krueger? And at that time, I'd kind of been playing villains for a while, so I was kind of tired of it. But I'm like, it's Freddy Krueger. I'm not going to turn that down. That's awesome. And so through that, it was just kind of online conversations mostly. And then finally, we just reached a point where we were like, listen, we need to do this. And finally got down to it.
Excellent. So how long did the film take to make?
We shot on 4 days. I'd say roughly 25 hours maybe total over the course of a month. It was really quick. We did the bulk of the film, the confession scene, in one day in a 12-hour shoot. And I scheduled it enough to where we had time to really play and, make Kevin say certain lines over and over and over. They were ragging on me the other day, this is good coffee. This is great coffee.
David said there's 10 minutes of just me going, this is really good coffee, over and over and over.
I just let him keep going. I was like, I'll let Kevin stop when he's ready to stop. But it was a fast shoot, and really the motivation on that was to premiere it here, because we had the biggest Nightmare on Elm Street gathering in this part of the country that I thought we'd ever see. And I was like, well, if we can get this thing done by September, and I contacted Nate from HorrorHound, and he said, yeah, I think the fans would dig it. So I was like, I will get it done. and we edited it in like 2 or 3 weeks, and we sent it off to Lito, and he scored it in a week. And Roman got it, and he added the sound in like 3 days and did all the sound engineering and effects. And I think it's just that we had worked together on Encyclopedia Satanica. At that point, we were just such a well-oiled machine, and we knew each other. We knew each other's tastes and vibe. We gelled so much. I just want to make more movies with these guys, and because I just think we're so on point with it the whole time. Everybody was of the same mind. It was just wild. I mean, I just said, Lito, you know what we're doing. You know, he's a Nightmare on Elm Street fan, so I said classic Elm Street, and he nailed it. He even got Charles Bernstein's, blessing to do it. So everything that kept coming in, the movie just kept getting better and better and better with every talent that came aboard.
And so you guys premiered the film here Friday night. What was the reception like? What's the reception like been this weekend?
It's been great. I mean, the first night we had probably 90% of the theater packed. Last night we had people standing and sitting. I mean, it was full. And everyone stayed and everyone applauded. Everybody laughed, and at the points where they were supposed to laugh and not when they weren't, which is always good. People seem to really think it's a good fan. I mean, I knew I had the talent with me on my with the acting and the cinematographer, DP Bonnell, and I knew we could make something good. We didn't have a budget. I mean, it was just a very, very small budget. But when you have that much desire and passion about something, and you have the right people, I think sometimes, lightning in a bottle kind of happens. And I think that's what happened on this. Like, I know people have talked. I've written a sequel, and people are asking, but I'm like, I don't know if. I think it would be almost a mistake to try to follow it up, because I don't want to push it, because I know there's going to be a lot of eyes on it, and there's going to be a lot of criticism. People not, that's just how anything that's loved this much, it's very dear to people's hearts, and they have every fan has their idea of what this story is supposed to be, what it is, and this is definitely coming from a diehard Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I've spent way too much money on this film. And my collection, and to dispute that. But I understand that there are a million different views on it, and this is just mine. And that's the only point of view I can make. So thankfully, most of the people who were here, who I know to be diehard Nightmare on Elm Street fans, were really happy with it. I had a few come up and say, this is beyond fan film. It's not the typical thing, which is a very nice compliment, because there's a lot of good fan films out there, and we just hope that we would turn in one that wasn't forgettable or laughable or people would ignore, and I don't think they will. I think it will have an audience. Well, you had an audience here, so I was really happy about it, and I was happy to have Joseph Whipp and his wife came last night, to have somebody who was actually in the original film, worked with Wes Craven, because the movie was a dedication to Wes Craven. It was all about the original film and Wes's vision. That movie gave me a career. It guided me towards the horror genre. And Mark Patton has become a dear friend, and he was there both nights, asked me to give a bow every night, and was a champion for the movie. And to have Mark there, because Nightmare 2 was the first movie I saw in the series, so to have Mark Patton there in the room watching it, bringing me up there to, after the screening, it was like a magic thing. It was full circle thing. I mean, it's really amazing to walk in here and have somebody like Mark, or like I came in this morning and Ken Sagal comes up, gives me a big hug, because we hadn't seen each other in a couple of years. So that's the coolest thing about these horror conventions and the horror community, is we are this big connected family, and there's so much outpouring of love for this genre, and you feel it. And we felt it last night. I had people say they were holding back tears thinking about when I was mentioning Wes, and that's how it was. When Wes died, I've never had that much of effect when a celebrity passed away that I did with Wes. It was kind of shocking to me, because I've lived to see heroes and celebs die in my time, and for some reason Wes just hit me. And I think a lot of it had to do with the movie because I made it for him, and he was gone before I got to show it. And but he's ingrained in this thing, and it's still for him. And I hope he was watching this weekend for everybody, because this has been a celebration of Wes Craven's legacy. I mean, you got thousands of people here all weekend celebrating what he invented, with so many people who worked with him and knew him. I couldn't have written this weekend better, really. Oh, yeah.
All right, finally, one last thing. Let's ask the man himself what he thought of the film. Mr. Freddy Krueger here. What'd you think?
Well, I'll tell you what. If anybody knows Freddy Krueger, it's these guys right here. You better watch this film and support it. And if you don't, you'll be seeing me in your nightmares.
Well, you hear it here, folks. You better do what Freddy said and check out the film Confession of Fred Krueger. It'll be online starting Monday. Excellent.